both of them here to the studio this morning. Jim, Shannon, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us.
Happy New Year to you. Hope the holidays were good.
They were excellent.
They were very good.
So we are all in suspense here. Which of you is going to break this news? What's going on? I'll just turn it over to you folks.
Well, okay. I will just say, first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to do it here on your show.
Yeah.
Jim and I are excited to announce that we are ready to run for another term of office in District 46. We've just really had a great time working together, representing the people in District 46, and we hope that people have been very happy with the work that we've done on their behalf, and we'd love the opportunity to do it again.
Wonderful. Now, so Shannon, this would be your third term. Is that correct?
No, Jim and I were both first elected in 2016. So this is the end of our first term. We would be reelected to a second term.
Okay.
Obviously, in North Dakota here, our terms are for 4 years, so we're kind of in our third year of our first term.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So, Jim, I've got to think it's a lot of fun to be thinking about doing this again with this young lady here that means a lot to you.
It is. It really is. It's Scott, Steve, I'm sorry. I did run, or I was elected or appointed, in 2012 to fill the seat of the late Tom Fisher. So you might be confusing that. But really, Shannon and I have only had one full term in office. So, so this will be our second attempt, and we're excited about it, ready to get after it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's been a great experience for us. Our first session, and I will speak for myself. My first session, I was totally over my head and what I had to get done and what we could do as legislators. And the second session was a much better session, and we really felt like we were contributing because we were a little bit more seasoned. And I'm really excited for what we could do for District 46 in our second term in office.
Yeah, Shannon, how about you? First of all, I'll ask you, what's it like being able to serve alongside your dad? That's got to be kind of a neat deal.
I really enjoy it because there's a lot of things that we have synergy on where we are kind of on the same page working together. There's a few things where we disagree, and in those opportunities, I like that as much as the times that we do agree because I get to poke him a little bit and try and persuade him to come around to my way of thinking. We had a little success with that finally this last year with the blue laws, and but it's really fun. It's an opportunity. As much time as people probably think that I spend with my dad working with him at Roers, our paths there don't cross as often as you would think, and so just to kind of extend that relationship into the legislature, I enjoy that opportunity. To kind of have that back and forth relationship where sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but we're always challenging one another's thinking.
So he doesn't try and pull rank on you and say, but I'm your father. You need to listen to me, young lady. You don't get that?
No. I don't think that works so well anymore.
She may get that, but she's not listening.
He may have tried to say that once or twice, but then I just laugh and say, okay.
Way to go.
Whatever, Dad.
Jim talked about that second time around the track versus the first lap around. Tell me, in your situation, how much would you look forward to having that second term to get in there and really get your feet wet with things again?
It would be huge because Jim's absolutely right. The first session in 2017 versus the second session in 2019, it's the first session is just drinking from a fire hose and trying to learn as much as you can about, a lot of the bills that we see are things that have some history to them. There's a reason they're coming forward. And kind of learning that background, learning that history. The first session I went into it, and Jim did also, we had no bills, we had no personal agenda. This is what we want to accomplish. It just was a process of learning and contributing where we were able to. The second session, I went in there and had a number of bills and was able to be relatively successful with those bills that I did have. And I think we can just continue to build upon that in another term.
Jim, what do you think is one area where you'd say, I'm really proud of the work that I've done so far in the time that I've had in the state Senate, where you could hopefully be able to leverage that toward more results in the future?
Well, absolutely, Steve. The thing I think that I can help the most with for our community is our flood diversion project and making sure it doesn't get off the rails. So much false or bad information is pushed out, and other legislators don't have the time to ground it out. Of course, it's very important to me because I live in this community, and it's the biggest thing that we've got to deal with as far as I'm concerned with to protect our future. But people look to me to get the facts, and because I'm here, they trust me. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I would like to do and carry forward in the next session is to make sure that our diversion doesn't get off the rails, to continue to bird dog our water supply project, which it needs to get done. It's not as high a priority as the diversion, but both of them are very, very important to our community and our future. And I think those are the things I could do. Shannon has done a great job on promoting new bills, bringing new things forward, and she's very good at it. The other thing I think that Shannon needs to be recognized for is the fact that she's been put into leadership positions. So the future for her to be effective is far greater than me. I'm much more of the behind-the-scenes guy and making sure that people don't get off the rails and start believing things that aren't necessarily true.
It's 7:28 on the Need to Know Morning Show on AM 1100 The Flag. Can you both stick around for another segment? Can we visit with you a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So we're going to do some bottom-of-the-hour things here. We got a news and a weather update coming for you. When we come back, though, we're going to continue our conversation with Jim Roers and Shannon Roers-Jones here on the Need to Know Morning Show, announcing today here on our program just a few minutes ago that they are running for re-election in District 46. We'll have more with them as we continue on the Need to Know Morning Show.
Set a news button.
AM 1100, The Flag.
Are you a business owner with remodel plans in the near future? When it comes to your electrical needs, you only need one call, and that's the JDP Electric. Hi, this is Jeff Culhane. I can't recommend the team at JDP Electric enough. You need professionals that can follow a strict timeline and get your project done when it's needed, so you don't have to worry about closing your doors and missing your customers. Put your company in the best hands by calling JDP right away. 232-1991 today to experience the JDP difference.
Have $500,000 or more in assets to invest, IRAs, 401ks, or annuities? Then you need to call Collins & Kronk. Call Collins & Kronk to set up your interview and start true wealth planning. Call Collins & Kronk Fargo 701-235-0119, 235-0119. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Collins & Kronk is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
From work to kids to running errands, you're always on the go.
To work, the gym, or when I'm running errands.
Obviously pretty busy.
Busy with work.
Picking up my kids from school.
Your entire day is a hands-on, never-ending frenzy of activity.
I like to know what's going on in my world.
I gotta know what's going on in my city.
Luckily, getting the news from the flag is now voice-activated. Hey, Alexa, wave the flag.
Here are the news stories we're following for you in the WZFT newsroom. An organic co-op in Fargo is closing its doors. Prairie Roots posted a note on the door of their business which says they'll be open until further notice to sell off remaining inventory. They were the first full retail, natural, organic, fair trade grocery store in Fargo. When they opened in 2017, they say they're closing due to financial problems. New clues have been found in the disappearance of a woman on the Standing Rock Reservation. Officials say yesterday's search in Porcupine turned up a garbage bag full of clothing that belongs to 30-year-old Cara Lynn Maui. The clothing was found at a home she once stayed in. Police are also following up on new leads in Bismarck-Mandan. Maui was last seen November 8th in Selfridge. In Bismarck, voters in Burleigh County will not be asked to weigh in on the issue of resettled refugees. In a split decision yesterday, Burleigh County commissioners rejected a proposal to put a non-binding straw poll on the ballot to gauge public opinion. Supporters had said the results could influence the commission's decision for the next 2 years. It comes a month after commissioners voted to continue accepting refugees in Bismarck, but capped annual admissions at 25. An executive order from President Trump requires local governments to consent to new arrivals. Crews were busy cleaning up an oil and produced water spill that occurred in Dunn County, North Dakota. More than 15,000 gallons of crude oil overflowed at a saltwater disposal facility near Halliday. It happened on Sunday. Officials say high winds knocked out power to some of their equipment, which also spilled 660 barrels of produced water. Most of the material was contained at the facility. From the WZFG Newsroom, I'm Mark Swartzell.
Thank you, Mark. 732 Need to Know Morning Show on AM 1100 The Flag.
Here's your WZFG 3-day forecast. Well, the good news, we get some sunshine today, but the bad news, temps are falling throughout the day. The high will be around 4. Tonight's low 12 below and light wind. Tomorrow and Wednesday night, we've got a chance of snow both times there with a high of 9 and the low 8. And it'll be windy tomorrow with a wind chill of 29 below. Thursday, we've got a 30% chance of snow with a high of 20. Right now, temps dropping. We're at 14.
All right, it is Tuesday, January 7th. By the way, Alex, you make me want to hop on a plane to Texas tomorrow, the way you're talking over there about minus 29 wind chill.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, so average high for this day is 18. Average low is 1. Record high 44 degrees in 1963. Record low minus 39 in 1887. No, thank you. Yesterday, 28 was our high temp. Sunrise this morning at 8:11. Sunset at 4:55 p.m. If you were wondering what the weather's going to be like for the football game down in Frisco, it is a natural grass field, so you want to keep it dry. They're going to have a ton of rain, it looks like, on Friday. But on Saturday, partly cloudy skies, high of 47, low of 31, a little windy, 15 to 25 miles an hour. So they'll cover up the field. It should be a pretty good track for playing football by the time we get to Saturday at 11 a.m. when the Bison kick off with James Madison. It's 7:33 on the Need to Know Morning Show. We are here in studio this morning with Senator Jim Roers and State Representative Shannon Roers-Jones of District 46 in Fargo. They comprise 2 of the 3 parts of the District 46 contingent, Representative Jim Casper the other, all 3 Republicans representing District 46 in South Fargo. They announced earlier in our show that they are both going to be running for re-election, so a second term for each one. Jim was appointed, so it would be in his 3rd term, elected twice on that. So they were good enough to share that news with us here this morning. Shannon, we didn't ask you last segment. What are you most proud of from your first term?
I would say the thing that I am most proud of based on its impact is the criminal record sealing process, that the bill that we passed, which allows people who have had a past encounters with law enforcement, they've got a criminal record of some sort, to have a process where they can have those records sealed after a period of not having new encounters with law enforcement. So if we've got a nonviolent, non-sex offense crime 3 years after a misdemeanor, 5 years after a felony, there's a process where people can have those records sealed so they don't continue to affect their ability to find housing and employment in the future.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a little bit of an issue with the implementation of that, so we may have to do some tweaking to that in the next legislative session. But I still think that it's a big step forward to get something like that passed through the legislature when, for many years in North Dakota and elsewhere, the attitude has been much more, we need to be tough on crime, we need to punish harder, longer, that sort of thing. And this is the beginning of kind of changing some people's mindset that these people are members of our community and we need to look at ways that we can make them successful when they come out of prison or out of off parole, those sorts of things.
Okay. And I want to make sure I clarify, too. I think I said this wrong a minute ago, but it would be their second time being elected this time around. Jim, it would be your 3rd session coming up.
That's correct.
Appointed once, elected once. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. Kev, you had a question.
Jim, I was going back to the flood diversion and that being your priority. I'm a Minnesota resident. It seems to me that topic is the long-tailed cat in the room full of rocking chairs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many people involved in that. What is going to be what's the fix, and how is it actually going to get done? It seems like the DNR on the Minnesota side, or this problem, or landowners, it just seems like it's such a massive deal. Where do you see it, and how do you see it landing, with a good plan?
Well, I think that's a part of the mistruth that I referred to earlier that gets spewed into the community, and everybody thinks we have these major roadblocks when really the roadblocks are not that they're not that great, and they are accomplishable. The DNR thing is pretty much been taken care of and put to bed. They keep regurgitating the same thing, and consequently, the public gets the impression that this thing is dead in the water when it's absolutely not.
Awesome.
And so, yes, there's a few hurdles to cross yet, but with time, we know we'll get those accomplished. The project is going to go forward this next summer. So it's really exactly what you said is what I can help try to ward off in Bismarck, and to tell the people out there what's happening over on this side from a friend, a co-legislator, is a lot more effective than having it heard over the news media, for instance. So that's what I think is going to happen.
I like hearing that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, Jim, in regard to water projects, we've got a big need here on this side of the state, but do you feel like there's, I don't want to say a chip on the shoulder, but do you think that there's, that's Fargo, that's Cass County, they'll fix it, they've got money. Do you think that there's a lack of understanding of the importance of some of these things from some of your colleagues out west?
Absolutely. I do. I think they think that Cass County is a very rich, frugal community that doesn't need a lot of support. It can take care of itself. As an example, we have self-imposed over 1.5% sales tax on our community because we feel the diversion is important. And yet that signal goes to some people as a thought that says, well, then just tax yourself 2.5%, whatever. You can do it.
You got the money.
Yeah, you can do it. And so we have to be constantly reminding them about the fairness issue here that needs to be dealt with, and that all communities should be supported at an equal basis. Because really the interesting thing is that one of the communities in the northwest part of the state, the average income per family household is greater than that of the Cass County area. And so how can you tell me that they require more financial support when literally their people make more money? Mm-hmm. And yet they have never self-imposed, they have self-imposed, but a very minor tax. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of things that need to be constantly pointed out to the legislators that, guys, in times that are tough, the East carried a lot of the weight. Now times are really good in the West, and it would be nice to get that support back here that we need now. And, the western part of the state is just clicking on all cylinders, doing a great job, and our reserves and our legacy fund indicate that. And we just need to now think about our priorities to grow our state as a whole, like keeping Cass County chugging along, because we are the economic engine in the state, and so we need to keep that in our forefront, in mind here, because if we can build our oil industry, and if we can build our gas industry, and we can build our business and our manufacturing and all the stuff that we've got going across the state, the state will rise to a much higher level when we all work together.
Shannon, Jim talked about the legacy fund, and I forget the number, but it's $6+ billion. That's 6.3 in there. What's your philosophy on legacy fund? You hear a lot of different ideas for it. What do you think that money should be spent on?
Well, I would have to say, the question for me is always if we should spend it. The legacy fund was set up by the citizens of North Dakota as a backstop for when the oil money goes away. At some point in the future, whether it's through depletion, which is a very long time in the future, or regulation. If we have a new president in a couple of years, we could lose the right to generate the oil or produce the oil from our state that we have right now. And so at some point in the future, the oil tax income that we're receiving, that is such a crucial part of our annual budgets, is going to go away. And we're going to need to supplant that with the revenue that's being generated from the legacy fund. So the first question I always ask is, should we spend something? And a lot of people think that the legislature is hoarding money because we've got $6.5 billion in the legacy fund. But the legacy fund was not set up by the legislature. The legacy fund was set up by the citizens of the state of North Dakota to have a backstop for when that oil money goes away. So that's the first thing that I hope people understand. I do think that there is room to use some of the earnings for legacy projects throughout the state of North Dakota, but that's a big question. What is the legacy project? I really like the idea of using some of the earnings to offer infrastructure grants through the state of North Dakota, or to use some of the infrastructure money or the money for bonding projects in the state of North Dakota. Because right now, our local municipalities have to go outside of the state of North Dakota to get the bonds that they use to finance their projects. And I think we could have a win-win situation by offering those at a lower interest rate for our North Dakota communities, but also having that money generate a little bit more revenue for the Legacy Fund.
Yeah, Jim, how about you? What do you think the Legacy Fund money is? Are you in favor of the Teddy Roosevelt project, the Memorial Library?
Yes, I am very much in favor. But that's not legacy money. So let's two separate subjects there. Let's finish. I'd like to finish and just add on to Shannon's comments a little bit. And she's absolutely right with the opportunity to use some of the earnings to buy down infrastructure grants, because we're just making it easier and more cost effective for communities to do what they got to do to grow. Now, the other part of investing legacy funds that I feel is important, and I think the Senate feels that's important, and to do exactly what legacy means. Invest into projects that continue to return profits back to the state, not to invest into projects that continue to deplete that asset. So that's an interesting thing. When we talk about oil development, and Shannon didn't talk about gas development, that's a market that is just waiting to be tapped on right here in our own backyard, because we have it. We're sending it down the pipe to somebody else. Why don't we process that here? Why don't we create incentives for business to come here to North Dakota to process our gas into ethane, which is plastics, into fertilizer, which we buy from Canada? All the other byproducts that could be obtained out of the processing of gas could be another huge boost to our economy for the next 50 years.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We could talk all morning, but it's a great conversation. Thank you both for coming in.
Well, thanks for having us.
And thank you for making us a part of your announcement here this morning. We wish you all the best as you campaign for another term here this coming November.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Very much. Go Bison.
There you go. State Senator Jim Roers. State Representative Shannon Roers Jones from District 46, announcing today here on our program that they are running for re-election here in 2020. It's 7:44. Need to Know Morning Show. We've got a full forecast coming up right around the corner.